The forest was dark and silent. The only sound was the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, casting the forest in an eerie darkness. A lone figure stood at the edge of the forest, looking out into the darkness. They were hesitant to enter, but they knew they had to. They had been drawn to this place for reasons they didn't understand. They took a deep breath and stepped into the forest. The darkness closed in around them, and they felt a chill run down their spine. They started to walk, slowly and cautiously. The trees seemed to loom over them, their branches reaching out like grasping fingers. The figure could hear the sound of their own heartbeat, loud in their ears. They walked for what felt like hours, but they didn't seem to be getting anywhere. The trees all looked the same, and they couldn't tell if they were going in circles. The figure was starting to get scared. They wanted to turn back, but they knew they couldn't. They had to keep going. Suddenly, they heard a noise. It was a low, guttural growl. The figure froze, their heart pounding in their chests. The growl came again, closer this time. The figure could hear something moving through the underbrush. They turned to run, but it was too late. Something grabbed them from behind, and they were pulled into the darkness. The figure woke up in a cold sweat. They were lying on the ground, their hands and feet bound. They looked around, but they couldn't see anything. They heard a noise, and they turned their head. There, in the darkness, they saw a pair of glowing eyes. The eyes belonged to a creature. It was tall and thin, with long, sharp claws and teeth. Its skin was pale and hairless, and it had a sickly sweet smell. The creature smiled, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "Hello," it said in a voice that was both soft and menacing. "I've been waiting for you." The figure tried to scream, but no sound came out. The creature stepped closer, and the figure could feel its hot breath on their face. "Don't be afraid," the creature said. "I won't hurt you, not yet, anyway." The creature reached out and touched the figure's face. The figure felt a jolt of electricity run through their body, and they cried out in pain. The creature laughed. "That's just a taste of what's to come," it said. "You're going to stay here with me, and I'm going to make you my plaything." The figure struggled against their bonds, but they were no match for the creature. The creature smiled again, and then it was gone. The figure was left alone in the darkness, their mind racing. They didn't know what was going to happen to them, but they knew it wouldn't be good. They closed their eyes and tried to think of a way to escape, but their mind was blank. They were trapped, and they knew it. They sat there in the darkness, listening to the sound of their own breathing. They didn't know how long they sat there, but eventually they fell asleep. When they woke up, the sun was shining. They were still lying on the ground, but their bonds were gone. They stood up and looked around. They were in a clearing, surrounded by trees. The creature was nowhere to be seen. The figure took a deep breath and started to walk. They didn't know where they were going, but they knew they had to get away from here. They walked for hours, until they finally came to a road. They flagged down a car, and the driver took them to the nearest town. The figure went to the police, but they didn't believe them. They said that there was no such thing as a creature in the forest. The figure knew what they had seen, but they didn't know what else to do. They went back to their house, and they tried to forget about what had happened. But they couldn't forget. The creature was always in their mind, lurking in the shadows. One night, the figure was awakened by a noise. They sat up in bed and listened. The noise came again. It sounded like something was scratching at their window. The figure got out of bed and went to the window. They pulled back the curtain and looked outside. There, in the moonlight, they saw the creature. The creature was staring at them, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. The figure screamed and ran to the door, but it was locked. The creature smiled, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "You can't run from me," it said. "I'm always here." The figure pounded on the door, but no one came. They were trapped. The creature reached out and touched the figure's face. The figure felt a jolt of electricity run through their body, and they cried out in pain. The creature laughed. "That's just a taste of what's to come," it said. "You're mine now." The creature grabbed the figure and dragged them out of the house. The figure struggled, but the creature was too strong. The creature took the figure back to the forest and threw them to the ground. The figure looked up and saw the creature standing over them, its eyes glowing red with hunger. The figure knew that they were going to die. They closed their eyes and waited for the end. But the end never came. Instead, the figure heard a noise. It was a loud, crashing noise, coming from the direction of the creature. The figure opened their eyes and saw the creature being attacked by something. The creature screamed in pain, and the figure saw that it was being attacked by a group of animals. The animals were all different sizes and shapes, but they were all vicious. They attacked the creature with teeth and claws, and the creature was no match for them. The creature was quickly killed, and the animals turned their attention to the figure. The figure was terrified, but they knew that they had to fight back. The figure picked up a stick and started to fight the animals. The animals were surprised by the figure's sudden aggression, and they backed off for a moment. The figure took advantage of the moment and ran. They ran as fast as they could, and the animals chased after them. The figure ran through the forest, not knowing where they were going. They just knew that they had to keep running. Finally, the figure came to a clearing. They stopped running and looked around. The animals were nowhere to be seen. The figure was exhausted, but they were safe. They had escaped the creature, and they had survived. The figure sat down in the clearing and took a deep breath. They had never been so scared in their life, but they were glad to be alive. They looked up at the sky and saw the stars. They thought about how lucky they were to be alive, and they vowed to never go into the forest at night again. The figure stood up and started to walk back to their house. They were tired, but they were also relieved. They had survived, and they knew that they would never forget this night.